I never thought I'd live to see the day my own daughter would scream at me like a stranger on the street. Her face red, her hands shaking, demanding I give her the money from the land I sold. And worse yet, my son, my firstborn, the boy I once rocked to sleep, would shove me so hard I'd feel a rib snap like dry wood. But neither of them knew that in less than 20 minutes, everything they believed about me, and about that money, would turn to ashes. My name is Martha Harris, and I'm 64 years old. For most of my life, I've been a simple, hardworking woman, the kind who wakes up before sunrise, brews black coffee, and feeds her chickens while the world is still half asleep. I live in a small wooden house on the outskirts of town, surrounded by tomato vines, cilantro, and memories. 8 years ago, my husband, Edward, died suddenly of a heart attack, leaving me with an old family farm that had seen better days. 20 acres of wild weeds, rotting fences, and leaky roofs. Still, I couldn't bear to sell it. That land had been Edward's pride, his legacy, and every time I looked at it, I felt as if a part of him still lived there. While my children, Michael and Patricia, built their city lives, new jobs, cars, and endless dinners with friends, I worked cleaning houses, selling food plates on weekends, even babysitting for the neighbors just to keep the lights on. I never asked for help. Pride, maybe. Or just the belief that a mother's duty was to stand strong, even when no one noticed. But time wears down even the strongest walls. The farm became impossible to maintain. Then, 6 months ago, a man in a gray suit appeared at my door, offering to buy it. He spoke of development, housing projects, and progress, but all I heard was the figure, $180,000. My heart nearly stopped. For weeks I wrestled with guilt, pacing the creaky floorboards at night, asking Edward's picture for permission. Finally, I signed the papers. The sale went through faster than I imagined, and suddenly, I had more money than I'd ever dreamed of. But I told no one. Not even my closest friend, Grace. Something deep inside whispered, "Keep it quiet, for now." Each morning after that, I'd sit on my porch, sipping coffee, watching the sun rise over my secret fortune. I felt alive again, hopeful. But peace is a fragile thing. It doesn't last long when greed starts knocking. That knock came sooner than I expected, and it came wearing my daughter's smile. It was a Thursday afternoon when I heard the hum of a car engine climbing the dusty road that led to my house. The sun was high, glinting off a white sedan that I recognized immediately, Patricia's. I frowned. She never visited on weekdays. She stepped out, heels sinking into the dirt, a bright yellow dress clinging to her like a warning flag. Her smile looked painted on, too sweet, too deliberate. I'd seen that smile since she was a child, the same one she used before asking for something she knew I wouldn't want to give. "Mom," she sang out, her voice dripping with warmth that didn't match her eyes. "You look wonderful." I was just in the area and thought I'd stop by. I forced a smile and invited her inside. I poured her a glass of cold water and sat in my old rocking chair, while she perched neatly on the sofa, tapping her car keys against her leg. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, like a cat testing the ground before pouncing, she finally spoke. "Mom. I ran into Mrs. Judy, you know, the woman who lives near your old property. She mentioned something that shocked me." I felt my chest tighten. I knew what was coming. Mrs. Judy was the neighborhood gossip. If something happened within 10 miles, she'd know first. "She said you sold the farm," Patricia continued, her tone sharp now, her fake smile gone. "Is that true?" I didn't bother lying. "Yes, sweetheart. I sold it a few weeks ago." Her eyes lit up, not with pride, but with hunger. "That's amazing. And, how much did they pay you?" I hesitated. "It was a fair deal," I said, deliberately vague. She leaned closer, that smile returning but sharper now. "Mom, you know you can trust me. I just want to make sure you're managing things wisely. You're not used to handling large sums, and I'd hate for you to make a mistake." Her words dripped with condescension. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. I'm perfectly capable of handling my own affairs, Patricia. Of course you are, she said quickly. It's just, well, Aaron and I have been having some business troubles lately. Just a temporary setback. Maybe you could lend us something small, just until things stabilize, say, 20 or 30,000? The air went still. I stared at her, searching for the daughter I'd raised, the little girl who once cried when she broke her doll's arm. But that girl was gone. No, Patricia, I said firmly. That money isn't for lending. I have plans for it. Her smile vanished. Plans? What plans could you possibly have at your age? Her words stung deeper than she could imagine. She wasn't looking at me as her mother anymore, but as an obstacle. I didn't know it then, but that simple no would soon turn my own children into my greatest enemies. Patricia's tone hardened the moment I refused her. Mom, she said sharply, you can't possibly use all that money yourself. You're 64. What are you going to do, go on a world tour? I stared at her, stunned. So now I'm too old to enjoy my own earnings? She sighed dramatically. That's not what I meant. But it's practical to think about family. You could invest in our business, it's the smart thing to do. Her words, her arrogance, her assumption that I existed to fund her life, it all made something snap inside me. I looked her dead in the eye. Smart would have been saving your own money instead of living beyond your means. Her face reddened. We've had bad luck, Mom. Aaron made some investments that didn't work out, and you bought that new car, I interrupted. And remodeled your house. And threw a birthday party for your daughter that cost more than I make in 3 months. Don't talk to me about bad luck, Patricia. That's not bad luck, that's bad decisions. She fell silent, her jaw tight. For a moment, I thought she might apologize. But instead, she said something that chilled me. Well, it's not just your money, Mom. That farm was Dad's property. Technically, it's part of our inheritance. My blood ran cold. Inheritance? I repeated slowly. That land was abandoned for years. I worked it, paid the taxes, fixed it, kept it alive. You never lifted a finger, and now you call it inheritance? Her chin lifted defiantly. Inheritance is inheritance. You can't change that. Before I could answer, I heard the deep rumble of an engine outside. Through the window, I saw a black pickup truck pull up, Michael's. My stomach turned. Patricia had planned this. Michael walked in without knocking, smelling faintly of beer though it was barely 3 in the afternoon. He gave a lopsided smile. Hey, Mom. Heard the big news. Of course, he had. Patricia had made sure of that. Good to see you too, I muttered. He sat beside his sister, leaning forward with his heavy hands clasped. Look, Mom, we just think it'd be best to discuss the money as a family. Maybe come up with a fair plan. There's nothing to discuss, I replied. The money is mine. Michael frowned. Mom, don't be unreasonable. Patricia's struggling, and I've got bills too. It's not like we're asking for all of it, just a share. A share? I repeated. Of what? My work? My sacrifice? My sleepless nights? He shifted uncomfortably, his voice rising. We're family. Families help each other. I stood from my chair, trembling, not with fear, but rage. Where was that family when I was cleaning strangers' floors to survive? When I was eating toast for dinner because I couldn't afford groceries? Where were you then? Neither of them answered. Their silence said everything. But silence can be dangerous, because sometimes, what hides behind it is far worse than words could ever reveal. The tension in the room thickened until it felt hard to breathe. Patricia crossed her arms, glaring. We didn't know things were that bad, Mom. You never told us. I laughed bitterly. Did I need to? You never asked. You were too busy living your perfect lives while I scrubbed floors to keep the lights on. Michael's jaw tightened. You're being dramatic. We've always cared. Cared? I spat. You disappeared for years. You only call when you want something. Is that what you call caring? Patricia shot up from the sofa. Enough. We're trying to help you make smart decisions before you waste everything. I took a slow step toward her, my voice shaking with anger. Help me? You ignored me for 8 years, and now that I finally have a little peace, you want to control me? No, Patricia. What you want is my money. Her face twisted with frustration. Mom, you're acting selfish. That property belonged to Dad, which means it's part of our inheritance. You can't just keep it all. That property, I said through clenched teeth, was nothing but rotting wood and wild weeds when your father died. I spent years keeping it alive while you two lived comfortably. You don't get to call it yours now that it's worth something. Michael stood suddenly, towering over me, his voice deep and angry. You're punishing us for the past. We made mistakes, sure, but you're still our mother. And you're still my children, I snapped. But that doesn't give you the right to rob me. Patricia's voice cracked. Mom, at your age, how much could you even need? That question, the one I'd feared most, cut deeper than anything else. My age. To them, I was already half gone, a burden standing in the way of their comfort. You want to know what I need? I said, my voice trembling with fury. I need to live without begging. I need to visit a doctor when I'm sick without checking my wallet first. I need peace. That's what I need. Michael slammed his fist on the table. You're not thinking clearly. My hands shook, not from fear, but from betrayal. Don't you dare talk to me like that in my own home. He took a step forward, his voice rising. You'll regret this if you don't share that money. We have a right to it. Right? I shouted. You have no right to anything I bled for. For a moment, none of us moved. The only sound was the old clock ticking on the wall, marking the seconds before everything shattered. Then Michael's eyes darkened, his jaw clenched, and he shoved me. The pain shot through my ribs like fire. I gasped, stumbling back against the chair, the world spinning. Patricia screamed, Michael, stop, but it was too late. As I lay there, clutching my side, I realized something horrifying. My own children, the ones I had raised, loved, sacrificed everything for, had become strangers. And strangers, when desperate for money, can be capable of anything. Aaron's smile never faltered, but his words chilled me more than winter air. You know, Martha, he said smoothly, you wouldn't believe how often elderly people lose their life savings to scams or accidents. It's tragic. Sometimes they just disappear. Patricia reached across the table, placing her hand on mine. Mom, please don't misunderstand. We just want to help. We love you. I pulled my hand away. Love doesn't come with a price tag. The waiter arrived to take our order, but I couldn't eat. My stomach was knotted. I think this conversation is over, I said, standing. Aaron's tone sharpened. You're walking away from your family. From your grandchildren. My grandchildren are innocent, I snapped. And I'll make sure they stay that way. His voice dropped to a whisper. Then think about them before you make this difficult. That was it. I turned and left without another word. Behind me, I heard Aaron mutter to Patricia, don't worry. There are other ways to fix this. Those words echoed in my mind all the way home. Other ways. That night, I called my neighbor and closest friend, Grace. I told her everything, about the sale, the threats, the lunch meeting, all of it. Martha, she said, alarmed. You can't stay there alone. Those kids of yours are dangerous now. You need to protect yourself. Protect myself? I whispered. How? From my own children? Start by not sleeping in that house tonight. Come stay with me. I did. But I barely slept. Every sound outside made me flinch. Around 3 a.m., I got up and stood by the window, watching the wind sway the trees. Grace joined me quietly. Martha, she said softly, what are you really keeping that money for? You've never cared much about wealth. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then, for the first time, I told her the truth. I told her about the promise I'd made to my late sister, Susan, to use whatever I could someday to help women fighting cancer. That money was going to fund a small foundation in Susan's name. When I finished, Grace had tears in her eyes. Oh, Martha, she whispered, hugging me. You're a better woman than they'll ever understand. The next morning, I decided to return home. But the moment I pulled into my driveway, I felt dread crawl up my spine. The lock on my front door was scratched, forced. My drawers were open, my documents moved. The metal box I kept under my bed had been disturbed. Someone had been there. And I already knew who. What I didn't know yet was that their next move wouldn't just threaten my money, it would threaten my life. And that's all for this one. If you want to see what happens next, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2. A like on this video really helps the channel out, and let me know you're enjoying the content. Finally, drop a comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone is. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And that's all for this one. If you want to see what happens next, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss part 2. A like on this video really helps the channel out, and let me know you're enjoying the content. Finally, drop a comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. I love seeing where everyone is. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.